Hello, and welcome to Solving Inequalities with Variables on Both Sides, Day 2. So yesterday we were solving inequalities that had variables on both sides. Today we're going to do more of the examples that are going to talk about the setup and solve of real life problems. And then we're going to talk about ones that end up with an identity or a contradiction. We've talked about these before, but they're going to show up again in our assignments now. So the first problem we're going to go through is a real life world kind of problem. So A+ Advertising charges a fee of $24 plus 10 cents per flyer to print delivery flyers. Another company, Print and More, they just charge you 25 cents per flyer. For how many flyers will the cost at A+ be less? So at some point in time, they're exactly the same. And then from that number, if you go more than, one company is a better deal. And if you go less than, the other company is a deal. So the question here is for how many flyers will the cost at A+ be less than the cost at Print and More? So we've got A+ on the left, and A+ is the first company, so it's A+ is $24 plus 10 cents per the number of flyers is less than Print and More's times that number of flyers. So we're going to take 24 plus 0.1 for 10 cents, the number of flyers, is less than 25 cents times that number of flyers. So we end up with this equation right here of 24 plus 0.1f is less than 0.25f. Now this should look exactly like it did yesterday. The only difference is that we have a decimal instead of just whole numbers. So the first thing I always want to do is get my letters together. So here's an F and here's an F, and I want to get them together. I usually like to move the smallest number, so 10 cents is less than 25 cents. So I'm going to subtract 0.10f from both sides. So this cancels out. 24 is less than, and 25 cents minus 10 cents is going to be 15 cents per flyer. Now, how do we move that 0.15 away from F? Is we divide both sides by 0.15. So grab your calculator and take 24 and divide by 0.15, and I got 160 is less than F. What does that mean? That 160 less than F? So that means if the number of flyers gets more than 160, then A+ will cost less than Print and More. So 160 more than 160 flyers. So if we need to print 200 flyers, then A+ is going to be less. So more than 160 flyers, A+ will be less than Print and More. All right, the second kind of thing that we're going to talk about is when we are going to still get our x's together, our variables together, and there's going to be such special situations that happen here. So if I want to get my x's together, well, we've got 2x on one side, 2x on the other side. So if I subtract 2x from one side, I'm going to subtract 2x from the other side. And I'm left with, this will cancel out. So you're left with -7. I just added and subtracted, so I am not going to flip that inequality sign, and I have 5. And 2 minus 2x is going to be 0. So we end up with the expression -7 is less than or equal to 5. is that a true or false statement? Is -7 less than or equal to 5? That is true. So what that means is this is the identity. And what happens here is all real numbers work. All real numbers. So on your homework assignment, we had to make a multiple choice, and there's an A, B, C, D answer. So in A, they have this word identity, and then they put all real numbers. Okay, part B, they said identity, but what they did here is they said all integers. And then part C, they called it the identity again, and they called it all natural numbers. And then D is where there's a contradiction. And when we have a contradiction, that means that the statement is false, so then there are no solutions. So what you guys are going to pick here is either going to be A or D. We're not going to use the integers, we're not going to use the natural numbers, because all real numbers means all of these. It means the integers and the natural numbers and your decimals. So we're going to be looking for all real numbers. So make sure you're looking for the all real numbers or the no solutions on today's homework assignment. So this one that we just did came out to be a true statement. So we're going to pick all real numbers. All right, the last sample problem for today, we're going to go ahead and solve this. So it looks like what we have to do over here, we've got these parentheses. So we're going to have to do the distributive property. So we're going to take 4 times y and get 4y. And then you're going to take 4 times -1. And 4 times -1 is a -4. Greater than or equal to. And now we have 4y plus 2. Okay, now we want to get those y's together. So I'm going to subtract 4y from one side. I'm going to subtract 4y from the other side. 4y minus 4y is a 0, so you're left with -4. Make sure you copy that symbol exactly like it is, because all we did was add and subtract. 4y minus 4y is 0, and then we have 2. So now let's read this statement. Is -4 greater than or equal to 2? Is -4 bigger than 2? And this is a false statement. So what we have is a contradiction, and if we have a contradiction, then that means that there's going to be no solutions for this problem. So if it was a multiple choice in here, we would pick the contradiction, no solution answer, so that one would be D. All right, so those are your variables on both sides, your special situations where we end up with a contradiction or we end up with a true statement. So if it's false and we have a contradiction, there's no solutions. If the statement is true, then the answer is all real solutions.